Hi, it's Richard Bucknall here, and some of you might know me better as Rich on Planet P on YouTube. So what I'm going to look at here is some of the biomechanical aspects of it, particularly around planes and axes, because what we find every single year is that the students tend to find some of the issues around which planes go with which axes, about maybe how we've delivered the information to them in a simpler way to try and help them. So they're the different aspects that we're going to try and focus on in this little video. So we've probably gone through points where some of you have used jelly babies, and we've been spending most of the lesson with students and cocktail sticks trying to develop their understanding of the different axes that we move through during sport. What you probably find though in your lessons is that you end up with a lot of sticky fingers, and probably people want to eat your jelly babies. So we've kind of moved away from that a little bit, because I think some of the confusion that we have is around language, but really about maybe our understanding of the content itself. So when you look at the analysis every year of the GCSE paper, this is a topic that students don't really access all the marks all the time, and some of that is around their understanding, but it might be around our teaching of it as well. So let's have a look at the different things that we've got. So we know that we've got 3 different axes, and we know we've got 3 different planes. So we've got our frontal, we've got our sagittal, and we have our transverse. Now we can just say those, but yet the students don't always go, oh, that's a plane or that's an axis. So we've got to try and maybe link them together a little bit better, and also give them an opportunity to think about the movements that happen when we do those. So when we're looking at these different ideas of the planes of motion, essentially the first thing we've got to talk about is that a plane of motion is simply a direction of movement. Okay, so we're either going to be going forwards and backwards, we're going to be side to side, or we're going to be rotating. So let's start with that. So we're going to be able to divide the body into 2, so into half, and we're going to be able to do it going this way, we're going to be able to go in this way, and we're going to be able to then look at how we might be able to have some sort of a rotation, so they're going through the middle this way. So let's start with this idea of a sagittal plane. Okay, so a sagittal plane is that I'm going to be able to divide me in half. That means that we're going to be going a right side and a left side. Now the directions of movement that are possible there are forwards and backwards. Now essentially all we've got to be teaching the students from there is that any movement which is either flexion or extension is going to be on that sagittal plane of motion. So sometimes we overcomplicate it. All they need to know is that sagittal planes are flexion and extension. So therefore, if they're seeing a picture of somebody, let's say, throwing an object, they straight away know that it's going to be that sort of movement, because they're going to have flexion at the elbow, extension at the elbow. We're then going to move on to our frontal. So we've got a frontal, so we've got a front and a back. Now that's where we're going to have this idea of sideways movement. So a frontal plane is quite simply where we're going to have abduction or adduction. Okay, so again, don't overcomplicate it with them. It's as straightforward as that. And then when we've got our transverse plane, it's where we've been chopped and we've got a top and a bottom. So imagine that I've sadly been cut through the middle, that my top and the bottom, and the movement that happens there is this idea of rotation. Okay, so it's simple as that. So where we've got our sagittal plane, forwards and backwards, we've got our frontal plane, which is abduction and adduction, sideways movements, and then we've got this top and bottom idea where we've got the rotational points. So when we look at planes, that's the most important point. When we then add in the different axes that go with them, there's always the pairs that go with them. So it's trying to find a way that helps. So one of the ones that I will say, well, I've got a frontal plane and a sagittal axis. Well, that's going to mean for me. Well, it means that I'm going to be going frontal plane, so I'm here, and it means that the sagittal axis is going right through the middle. Well, from there, it means that I'm going to be falling sideways. It's just the F and the S way to put them together, and that's the sort of thing that you might want to try and use to try and get your students more out of it. So really try and think about how the axes and the planes link together, but really start off with on the idea that the plane is simply a direction of movement. Is it flexion, extension? Is it abduction, adduction, or is it some sort of rotation? And that, I guarantee you, will get you more marks for your students in this topic.